And welcome to another edition of Reborn Radio, where today, what are we going to talk about, Alex? We're going to talk about narwhals, aren't we?
I don't know. I want you to tell me about narwhals. So, gentlemen, we have a couple things that we want to go over. Ladies, too. I don't know why I said gentlemen. That's just like my go-to. It's probably
You're
not good.
Pretty much a chauvinist, aren't you?
I'm sexist. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I want to talk about tattoos. That's what I really want to talk about. I've read some good articles this week and been thinking a lot about that. And it's also some personal devotion stuff as well. But really, let's talk about narwhals, Andrew. That's what people really listen to us for. That's what they're really here for, is narwhals.
I would also like our listeners to take note that whenever we talk about a serious subject, say Christian liberty and tattoos, we're going to have Alex talk about it. I'm more so here to talk about things like narwhals,
right?
Popcorn, maybe occasionally something a little bit more heady. Like they might let me cover, I don't know, Genesis 1 verse 2, maybe. Right. On a good day. Yeah. But anyways, let's talk about some narwhals.
Only if you read it from the message. The message. Like, that's what you're going to specialize in, is the message. Like, you're going to read the verse where Jesus walks down the street and he says, "What up?" That verse. Or what is the... I'm going to pull up the message right now.
So even better, my friends, than the message is the Word on the Street Bible. And if you ever need...
You're just
yeah. No, I'm being dead serious. If you ever need, like, just a moment... All right, I actually got it pulled up here. So do you want to hear what Genesis, 1:1 is in the Word on the Street Bible, Alex?
I want to read that, but first I got to read the message, though. I got to read the first two verses in the Message Bible. Is that
sure?
Cool?
And why don't we compare? Why don't you read the first two verses of the message, and we'll compare it with the Word on the Street?
Discussion about these translations.
Yeah, that sounds like an excellent idea. Go ahead.
First, this, colon. God created the heavens and the earth, dash. All you see, all you don't see. Oh, I added that part.
Whoa.
Earth was a soup of nothingness, a bottomless emptiness.
Wait, pause.
I know, it's deep. A soup.
What kind of soup, man? What kind of soup? Like, you can't just leave us hanging like that. Like,
salty?
Come on. I want to say something right to Eugene Peterson right now, who I wrote the message. Dude, you got to clarify the soup stuff. Was it Campbell's? Was it chicken noodle?
I don't know.
Potato soup? Come on, man. Really? Wow. Anyways, please continue.
Okay, all right. That being said, God's Spirit brooded like a bird above the watery abyss. Like, I'm glad that we describe God's actual ongoing emotion and distinct parallel as a bird in the message. Like, we took time to explain that to everyone. Like, I don't think I've ever... I'm going to say, when I think of a bird brooding, I think of a chicken. I've seen chickens brood on nests for days. That's all I got when it comes to bird.
And dude, there's a connection. So it was most likely chicken noodle soup. I mean, if this is pretty much the message level exegesis, because chickens brood, therefore the soup aforementioned is chicken noodle soup. So check this out, bro. That's verse 2, right?
All right.
All right. So check this out. This is the Word on the. So first it says Genesis / stuff starts up.
Oh.
All right, verse 1. First off, nothing. ... And then, but God. Period. No light.
Scholarship right here.
No time. No substance. No matter. Second off, God says the word and whap. I want to clarify that. Whap. WHAP.
We know the exact sound that occurred.
When God creates, it makes a whap sound, just so everyone knows. And then the next sentence, 2 words. Stuff everywhere.
Stuff everywhere.
The cosmos in chaos. No shape, no form, no function, just darkness. Total. And floating above it all, God's Holy Spirit ready to play. And that's the end of the first 2 verses.
I feel sacrilegious reading this now.
Yeah. So anyways, let's talk about some narwhals now. Let's talk about
Sure. So, let's make this a bet. Let's talk about more scholarly things than this, which are narwhals.
Okay.
Let's level it up a little bit.
Yeah, we're taking this step up. Yeah, it's actually correct, Alex. I'm very glad to see that on marine biology you maybe scored a C-, maybe. So, anyways, as those of us who follow us, if you check us out on Twitter or look at our Facebook symbol, it is at Reborn Narwhal. And I've gotten several questions about why we chose Narwhal. And this is really very simple.
Yeah, I don't know. Explain this to me. I still don't know.
You don't remember? Okay, all right. Let me explain this to you. So you remember, Alex, back in our college days when you and I were a couple of punks living at home, going to Thomas Edison State University, a school of very, very high regard. I mean, it's basically Harvard, right, Alex? Would you say that's a fair comparison?
Dude, it is. But, dude, no. Like, okay, I have another topic for that. Dude, did you know that place is actually accredited by a regional accrediting board? I know this now because I work for a school. I looked it up. It's actually it's one of the highest accreditations you can get for a school. I don't know how they got it, but
wow, I don't know how they got it either. But anyways, you and I both had a general acquaintance when we were going to college. Kluani, you remember Kluani, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kluani is from Alaska, and Alex, you and I used to give her a hard time continuously about narwhals. And like one day she would say like, she would say, like, I went to the zoo. Okay, maybe it was more me than you, but she would say, I went to the zoo today to, like, volunteer and do this and this. And I'd be like, oh, yeah? Did you pet some narwhals while you were there? Did you see the narwhals? And she'd be like, Andrew, stop, shut up. And so, I mean, every time, like, she would say, yeah, we went down to, like, such and such a place on the water. I'm like, oh, yeah? You see some narwhals down there? And she's like, shut up, Andrew. So the history of the narwhals is a deep and mystical one.
Yeah.
And a lot of, yeah, it would be safe to say. So really, that's where the narwhal mystique began. But if there's one creature that is a perfect mascot for Alex and I, it's a narwhal. Because at the very front, like on the surface, you've got this long, shiny, beautiful, pointy, dangerous-looking horn. It's even pretty well styled. Yeah, and then you look behind it, and it's like, and then you, great. And then you look behind it, and it's like this giant gray lumpy seal.
Yeah, that's your half.
Yeah, that's my part.
We both make up one half of the symbolic narwhal.
Correct. And this is why we continuously tweet the hashtag Fear the Narwhal, because the narwhal is not to be messed with, man. You don't mess with narwhals.
Dude, I just want to know, like, I freely admit, dude, I was almost embarrassed when I realized that you were tweeting with James White. And he's probably thinking, who the heck is Reborn Narwhal? Like, what is that? A gamer tag? Like, I wonder what he's thinking. He's just like, who is this guy? What is Fear the Narwhal, Dr. White Ponage?
I did. Let it be forever known that I tweeted at James White, hashtag Dr. White Ponage.
Right. Like, I'm going to introduce, like, if we ever meet James White in person, I'm going to be like, hi, Dr. White, my name is Alex Reitz. This is Reborn Narwhal. He hashtags.
I'm pretty sure that he will respond, what?
Dude, he would, but, dude, I didn't even know that. I just thought, narwhals are just weird, man. They're, like, what is the purpose of the horn? What does it do? Like, I'm sure there's a purpose. I believe that God creates everything for a purpose, but I don't know. Like, what are you going to spear? It's in the water. Other narwhals?
Apparently, bro. Like, I don't know what they spend. I haven't done a lot of research on narwhals. I have to be completely honest.
So you're saying that your narwhal expertise stops there?
I know it's a whale with a horn on its head.
I thought I was going to get the full natural history of the narwhal.
I know that if you have if you are a certain percentage Inuit, that you can legally hunt narwhals with harpoons.
Dude, that sounds dangerous.
I think you and I could pull it off.
Yeah, we could. Oh, absolutely. Dude, that might almost, like, make our lives, like, mildly adventurous. Let's do that someday. With our wives.
Let's do that. But until then, I guess we should probably talk about some
let's talk about real stuff. So, anyway, I want to talk about some articles that I've been reading. And I can't for the life of me find the article on the fragment that was discovered. You remember this big ordeal that happened when apparently it was discovered that there was a fragment that described Jesus' wife on it. It was maybe like 4 lines, and it was in Coptic.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember very quickly.
Yeah, it was a massive, like CNN bothered to come out and do like an entire 10-minute spiel on how they've proven that Jesus had a wife, and this undermines all of Christianity from the bottom up. And I can't find this article, but it was actually like done by actual scholars that know what they're talking about, unlike CNN. I've been reading a lot of biblical archaeology magazine lately, and it's pretty good stuff, man. They actually got sources. It helps when you have sources.
It really does.
And for the record, I just want to say, if you find the word Jesus and you find the word wife on the same 4 lines of Coptic fragment that you found, that doesn't mean that they're related. That's all. I'm going to leave that there. That being said,
pretty good point.
I was reading an article that made an interesting point, and I can't prove this, and I can't really back this up, but it got me thinking. And it's posted by the Biblical Archaeology Society, and it says, "What does the Bible say about tattoos?" And I'll post this article. I'll put this article up. We want to cite our sources, but basically, it's talking about what does the Bible say about tattoos. For the most part, it makes the typical argument. We're kind of in the Reform group. We don't really have a lot of the problems that I think our parents did with tattoos. I think pretty much the generation that you and me are being raised up in is for the most part is removing that bias, but there is still a bias that tattoos are inherently wrong. And
right.
The reason that's commonly cited is the common verse Leviticus 19:28. Am I correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Which says, I'm going to pull it up. It says, and for the record, Leviticus 19 talks about a lot of stuff. Like, it's basically kind of like the hodgepodge of miscellaneous laws. Like, there's like several big codexes of major laws and bylaws and sub-laws. And then this is kind of like just the hodgepodge of like, okay, here's all the random laws that you also have to listen to while you're there. And,
absolutely.
1928 says, "You shall not make any cuts on your body for the dead or tattoo yourselves. I am the Lord." And I'm reading from the ESV. And there's some interesting stuff going on in this verse. I'm actually going to play around with the Hebrew. I think there's some interesting stuff in the Hebrew here. Side note, you haven't made it to Hebrew class yet, but there's always interesting stuff in Hebrew. My gosh, there's all kinds of great stuff in Hebrew. But anyways, there's no precision like there is in Greek. You just kind of have to contextually guess everything. Anyway, putting that aside, this article basically makes this point. It's saying it's arguing archaeologically. These are historians that are arguing this, and this is how they argue. They argue they can't find anywhere in any other ancient text, Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Assyrian, anywhere where tattoos are seen as a burial or mourning practice. Most Reformed people or most other people will argue tattoos are okay because Leviticus 19:28 is talking about a mourning practice. It was used as a mourning practice. It was used specifically in reference to the dead. This guy is arguing that's not true because nowhere else, anywhere in ancient history sources that we have, can I find that. I can only see where tattoos were used as slave markers. They were used to mark slaves. You tattooed your slave, and you tattooed your name on your slave so that when he ran away, everyone knew who he belonged to. It was a slavery issue. And it was an issue of, you do not brand or mark another human being after your image or after your title or after you do not own another human being per se. So it kind of goes into an anti-slavery stint, which, you could argue the Mosaic Law it doesn't expressly prohibit it, but it severely curfews it. So anyway, that just struck me. I can't agree with that line of reasoning entirely. We can argue strictly. We need to argue a lot based on historical scholarship, but that is not our primary inerrant truth, is it?
Yeah, and in addition to that, I would say, look, there's been a lot of times throughout history where historians have said, well, there's no evidence of this in the Bible, therefore this is wrong. When, you wait about 20, 30, 40 years, or as R.C. Sproul Sr. often likes to say, just, have someone goes over to the Middle East with a shovel and turns it over and bam, they're proven wrong.
Right.
So it's not a really big issue, I don't think, for us, but I do think it's interesting. At the same time, I don't know if it really, how does that affect? Let's say that this is right. Let's say this is accurate in what it's describing. How would that actually affect what we believe today about tattoos?
I don't think it would affect that as much. I think you and me are going to come down to the same point, whether I argue it based on it's not a mourning practice, it's a slave ownership thing, because that's what I see reflected in ancient cultures in their texts, or B, because the text actually has a reference to the dead in it. And let's be fair. Let's be honest. Like, you and me, neither one of us are Hebrew scholars, and frankly, there's not many Hebrew scholars, period. There's really not. I'm sorry.
Very
There's
true.
people that say they are, and they're not, and Hebrew is a difficult language to understand, so we may not even be reading this verse correctly. But for the most part, if you take the bent that this guy from the Biblical Archaeology Society is taking, it does change the interpretation of the verse a little bit, exegetically, as a pastor. But it's not a big deal. We both could have come down on the idea that this is not applicable to Christians today. I will eventually speak English.
That's okay. English is kind of secondary here in the United States anymore. Most people can't read. Most people can't read, and even fewer can actually write in English. So I don't think it's all that necessary anymore. But no, I think you're absolutely correct. Whether it's true that tattoos were primarily used for slave owners, or whether they were used to basically perform some sort of ancestor worship, I think it comes down to the same point for us today, that there is not a biblical prohibition for those of us who are in the New Covenant. There is not a biblical prohibition for tattoos, and trying to attach it to. I think Matt Slick made a perfect point regarding this, and he talked about it being the genetic fallacy. Just because something is associated with something that's bad does not make it inherently wrong. He uses the example of Volkswagen. Just because the Nazis used Volkswagen vehicles does not make Volkswagen vehicles inherently bad. So it would be a far cry to say that tattoos were once used for ancestor worship, and ancestor worship is evil, therefore tattoos are bad, just as it would be wrong to say tattoos were also used for slave marking. Slavery is bad, therefore tattoos are evil. Both of them end up being false arguments.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we can go all if you're going to take this line of reasoning and you're going to argue this way, you have to argue through a lot of different miscellaneous laws in the Mosaic Law that you have to deal with. One of the best things that I still think one of my old pastors, way back when probably who was an instrument for my salvation, way back in my early teen years, one of the best statements that I still remember to this day that he made was that the Mosaic Law was written for a specific people in a specific time. Mm-hmm. And, covenant theology, dispensational, whatever, you still have to deal with that. Galatians 2 and 3 deal with that. 3 and 4, pardon me. And that's something that you have to deal with. So,
it's very true.
But I want to talk about this. Does that mean that you and me should go out right now and get tattoos, Andrew? Should we get tatted up?
Straight up, man. I've got a narwhal on my right bicep.
Dude, I'm going to get an octopus. I'm going to get an octopus with 9 legs and see if anyone can tell. Just
going off of our conversation right here, I think it's very clear that you and I should not get tattoos because I think we would be the source of ridicule. I did want to make one more quick point on what you were saying, because you were saying, if you're going to utilize Leviticus 19 as a prohibition for tattoos, then, you've got to read verse 27, 28, by the way. Leviticus 19:28 is the verse that speaks specifically to tattoos. Verse 27 says, "You should not round off the hair on your temples or mar the edges of your beard." Well, I've got a problem, because my beard, when it grows out, it looks ugly, according to people who are not me. People who matter, like my wife, my father, my mother, my mother-in-law. Pretty much everyone except me. So I trim my beard off straight up because I want to keep my job. Am I violating the moral law of God at that point then? Because this seems to be a direct prohibition just one verse earlier. So you have some consistency issues, I have a feeling. If you're going to take Leviticus 19:28 to the point of saying, hey, we cannot have tattoos according to the law of God, well, you've got a lot of other issues that you're going to have to deal with through the rest of the Mosaic Law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And that's something that, the short answer is yes, you can apply the Mosaic Law across the board to all Christians. That doesn't work. The long answer is we still don't know a lot of the reasons that some of these laws were put in place for that people during that time. We may never know. There's some historical things that we may still fully understand, but it's good stuff. But
do you think I should get a tattoo, Alex? Should I get a tattoo?
Well, I do want to say this. I want to argue one more point about tattoos, before everyone comes out and says, "Oh, Andrew and Alex are going to talk about they want tattoos, and everybody should get tattoos because they said it's okay. They're going to get tattoos, and their wives are going to get tattoos." No, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying you can't use this verse. But what I will say is that we should read a very careful cultural – that sounded really bad – a very exegetically solid reading of 1 Corinthians chapter 11. And this chapter talks about head coverings.
Ooh.
I don't wear hats. I just want to throw that out there. That's a freebie. But anyway, this chapter talks about head coverings. It's the whole chapter. Eventually you have to deal with this chapter. Should a woman wear a head covering? Does a man not wear a head covering? Can a woman cut her hair? Can a man not cut his hair? Stuff like that. I'm not going to exegete this entire passage right now. What I'm going to say is that I believe that this entire passage is arguing that Christians need to appear to be honorable and righteous and respectful in the culture that they live in to win souls. Like, this does not mean that we're friends with the culture. We're not out there to get the culture's approval, but we do need to present ourselves in a way that is not seen as sinful or derogatory or disrespectful in the culture. For example,
right.
I have every freedom to let me think of something right now. I have every freedom to wear rainbows and skinny jeans and look like I'm gay in the culture right now. Like, I could do that. I do. I have the freedom to do that. The culture understands that, but is that going to save souls if I go to someone and say, I believe that homosexuality is wrong, but I look like one? Even if I'm not one. Is that going to hurt my witness? Is that going to damage my presentation of Christ to these individuals? I think so. So, do I think I should get covered in tattoos? Because that may or may not, depending on the crowd I'm in, throw a disrespectful light on the Christ who I am the ambassador of.
So basically, you're applying 1 Thessalonians 5:22. Avoid the appearance of all evil.
Yeah, essentially. And I mean, like I said, this is not a strict law. This does not prohibit anything, really. But this does mean we need to make a note and make a point to guide our lives and guide our actions in such a way that we try to be winsome to souls. And if something is going to damage my witness, I don't really want to take part in that.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. In addition, I take no issue, and I would not reprimand anyone. Like, for instance, Reverend Joe Thorne. I think he looks pretty awesome with his tattoo.
He's a great dude.
There's nothing cooler than a man that has 1689 tattooed across his fingers. That's pretty sick.
Dude, I will say this: if I do ever get a tattoo, and I wasn't
going to
get a tattoo. What were you going to say?
It's going to incorporate the 1689 London Baptist Confession, isn't it?
No, dude, I'm not going to write something man. If I'm going to write something on my skin, it's not going to be man written. I will tell you that. But I will say this, dude. Have you ever seen the movie Priest?
I have not.
Oh, dude, I got to show you that movie. Basically, it's like these super tight warrior monk dark dudes that fight evil, and they have crosses tattooed over their foreheads. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a cross tattooed on my forehead.
You let me know what your job interviews look like after that point.
They'll probably tank pretty bad.
Yeah, it gets pretty rough at that point. I have a feeling.
If you want a job, you probably can't get too many tattoos. I mean, you can. Never mind. I'm going to back out of this. I'm not culturally sensitive. Anyways.
It's okay. That's a plus, in my opinion.
Yeah, so cheese is great, and I'm done talking.
Terrific.
Did you have anything, Andrew? Do you have any thoughts? Narwhals, tattoos?
I don't know, man.
Narwhals get tattoos.
Now that is an issue that I'm going to have to take. You know what? I'm going to have to whip out my if I'm going to do any research. If I'm going to do any research on narwhals having tattoos, then I am going to have to pull out the Word on the Street Bible and take a closer look.
Yeah. From now on, that's the only Bible that we can read.
Yes,
we have
absolutely.
To be able to interpret that Bible. All right, guys.
Painful.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. Good discussions. Please send us your thoughts, comments, questions, anything like that. We're here to talk. We're not always right, but we want to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So hit us up. Andrew, I'm sure we'll make sure you get all the words out there. I will see you guys later.
You have the best
We'll be back next week. Yeah, we do. It's huge. Yeah.